We have a lot to talk about. Today is the day, August 28th, 1993. The first season of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers debuted on TV 25 years ago of today. And you know what? Despite its ups and downs, the franchise is still going strong. And you know what? We came a long way. For those of you who don't know about the Power Rangers, it was borrowed from Japan, known as Super Sentai. What that means is that they use Japanese stock footage to match American footage for the Power Rangers. And boy, do we have a lot of history to talk about. Because like I said, you guys, August 20th today, Power Rangers debut on TV. 5 powerful years for the franchise. You guys know I'm a huge Power Rangers fan. And you know what? I'm just blessed to be one. Because I can tell you the first time I watched Power Rangers growing up, you know, when I first ever Mighty Morphin back in my childhood when I used to live around Brandywine Street. And I remember one day when I was a child going to the basement, the TV was on and I was trying to figure out what was on. And then I noticed I was changing the channel. I was like, what, 3, 4, 5 years old at the time when I discovered the clip from the Green Medieval series, part 5, when the Megazord was picking up the Dragon Zord. And then I thought to myself, what are these? What is this show? The music, the action, it just seems so great to me. And then around that time when, which I believe it was someone Christmas or during the summer, I'm not sure. All I know is that I had my first Sega Genesis, and one of the games that came with it was this. This came with the Sega Genesis. I remember playing it. I was hooked on Power Rangers ever since. And that's how yeah, sorry for dust. Yeah. This is how I began to know about the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers was through a video game. I didn't really care about the story whatsoever. All I saw was them fighting in spandex, fighting monsters and stuff. But some of you probably think Power Rangers is childish, it's a kid's show. Well, let me remind you a few things that Power Rangers have done. It's taught a lot of great lessons growing up. It inspired people to be a scientist, martial artists, a gymnast, a dancers, some inspired to be firefighters. You know, Power Rangers is an inspiration. No, it is an inspirational show that had inspired many people to do great things in life. It taught them a few lessons. And I remember in the early 2000s, I was really hooked on Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, especially around 2001. That was the year that I became a Mighty Morphin fanatic because I wanted, all the home videos. I wanted the toys. I wanted, the little stickers, the comics and stuff, or whatever it is that they had. But mostly, I was all about the toys. And I remember one day watching the Green Medieval Saga Part 5 on VHS. And it kind of made me sad that of how much I miss Mighty Morphin seeing it on TV all the time because it was that show that got me hooked on the Power Rangers seasons. But there are other Power Rangers seasons besides Mighty Morphin that I didn't even, you know, watch at the time because Mighty Morphin was all I know. And I was just a child at the time. I was like so super duper young growing up. So around 2001, I got my first Happy Birthday Zach VHS box art. You know, the 1993 VHS box art of him moving to his Ranger and to his Zord, him finding Nasty Night. That was my first VHS box art that I had. And I used to watch that like crazy. I binge watched that every single day and night. And one of my favorite parts is when the Zords came out, when Jason was calling out the Zords. And I used to rewind that clip every single time, every day before going to school and, at night. Because it was such a good episode to me. Because, I mean, even though it was episode 10, it's still the most epic thing I've ever seen. So, and then around 2002, I had, I saw Power Rangers Wild Force. That was an okay season, but the episode that came out on my birthday was the Max focus episode when he thought Danny was being focused on his crush. So Danny ends up fighting the monster by himself, and he ends up being trapped on a bell. Danny and Max came together. Max apologized to him about running off on him and stuff. That's when Max and Danny, kind of worked together, but it was all about Max anyway. So the episode came out on my birthday back in 2002, and I remember. So during that Christmas, I I had the Zinaku story art. Thanks, Fox 87. I appreciate that, buddy. And as you know, man, today is National Power Rangers Day. It's the 25th anniversary of the franchise, so that's the reason why I'm going live. And I did told you guys 1,000 times on my channel leading up to this moment that I was going to go live all things Power Rangers. So getting back to what I was saying about Christmas, when I had my first VHS Wild Force Sinaku story arc, it's kind of like the Green Medieval, but I think Sinaku is excuse me. I think Sinaku is one of the most uh, memorable villains in Rangers history. So then I got my first early access to the Ninja Storm. Is Power Rangers still alive? Yeah, it's still alive. It's still alive. I mean, it's still on TV today. But I'm gonna get to that by the end of the video. So, but so far, we're gonna be focusing on apps. So it's gonna be all things positive. So I got my first Ninja Steel toy. I think it was one of the Thunder Rangers. It's kind of like a little different armor with a motorcycle at the end. So I got that. But Ninja Steel came out. I kind of like Ninja Storm because of how the story was. The actors were great in that series. And the Thunder Rangers were my favorite Rangers on the show because they were stronger, they were more tougher than ever. Almost to the end of the finale when Lothar stripped them from their powers. So, and Cam is one of my favorite Rangers too because he wanted to be the Rangers too because instead of like being in the dojo all the time, hooking the Rangers up with different Zords and weapons and stuff. So, yeah, I think Ninja Storm is one of my favorites. So, Dino Thunder was a great season, but it did have a few problems, like Connor being a douchebag when it comes to Trent. Yes, he has problems of, not keeping any secrets whatsoever. But I kind of felt like Connor was being a little bit of a douchebag by the episode. I kind of didn't like Connor at all. I think he's one of them. In my opinion, he kind of sucked as a Red Ranger, but he did grow in later episodes. But at the same time, I just don't like him as a Red Ranger. So, yeah. All the other Rangers were I like Dr. Rowe, aka Tommy Oliver, when he came back as Black Donald the Ranger. I kind of like him. He felt more like a leader than Connor, in my opinion. So, SPD has some good things going for it, but a lot of problems, like the cow explosions. Every single scene when the villains are shooting at the Rangers, it's making them. Like Link Carr was saying before about the cow explosions. Every time when the villains have a blaster blasted at the Rangers, it makes it look like they're missing. But really they're not really aiming towards the Rangers. And this big explosions just came out of nowhere, and it kind of sucked. It just made the season look boring, and the fight scenes a bit boring. So Sky is one of my favorite Rangers on the show because all he ever wanted to be is a Red Ranger, but he didn't get a chance. Him and Jack didn't hit it off pretty good until later on in the season when the two of them began to get along, and Kruger, uh, he was one of my favorite Rangers too because he had a tragic backstory when him and his army were going against Grum's army, and Grum's army ends up being Kruger's army. So Commander Kruger was the last one standing, and he lost his wife, his people. So Cat was trying to convince him to become a ranger and help his comrades out, but he didn't do it. So at the end of the season, Sky ends up becoming the Red Ranger, but only for one clip. But yeah, so SPD was a good season, but the college blows I had a huge problem with. That kind of ruined it for me. It's too many slow motions and fight scenes, which kind of got boring as well. I mean, it's been like that for years, but I think SPD kind of messed it up for me though because it's been too much of slow motion, which just makes it really boring. So Mystic Force was bad in my opinion. Only 26 episodes. It sucked. I mean, Mystic Force sucked so bad. I just couldn't sit through, that season. I remember watching it in the past, and I couldn't help but to just be, I don't know, man. I think Mystic Force was not good at all. Operation Overdrive. Okay, so here's where we get into the bad part. 2007 was a terrible year for the Power Ranger franchise. I remember the 15th anniversary special, Once a Ranger. That was not good at all because it just made the Overdrive Rangers look weak and dumb. They all just quit after losing their powers. They could have just kept on fighting. Listen, Link Carr said this before. Even if you lose your powers, you can still go out and fight for people and save them with or without them. You can still fight the monsters without your powers. You can still save people without your powers. And not only that, you can still, you know, take risky things, risky stuff without your powers. But the Overdrive Rangers ended up quitting. And that right there was a no-no for me. So I never knew about this in the past until I just recently watched Link Carr's History of Power Rangers Operation Overdrive this year. And I couldn't help but to laugh about his rant because the part where Matt was running with the Sentinel Knights, jumping and slicing the monster in half, that part left me speechless. And I was just laughing my butt off at Link Carr's rant. And so once the Ranger was terrible. Too many, fast clips of terrible directing, and the writing was bad. the episode was terrible. The whole season was trash overall. Some people liked it, but a lot of people hated it. That's why everybody named Operation Overdrive the worst season of all time, and it still is today. For a 2007 season was bad. Jungle Fury was good. I mean, Jungle Fury was a good season. Uh, I love that it's a martial arts theme. You know that it talks about how the Rangers are training in the martial arts uh, of pipe swap, order of the claw. Um, so the Rangers had to come together and fight Daishi, but Jared became Daishi when the evil's powers of the Daishi came onto Jared, and that's when Jared was starting to act funny and talk like very strange. But he was the villain, so so I I think the mythical lion when he became a ranger himself. So by the end of the season, Jared wanted to not help the Rangers, but he ended up sacrificing his body just to destroy it. And then the Rangers had to use their energy blast to destroy the creature. So, and one of my favorite Rangers from Jungle Fury was Casey. I like him because in the beginning of the season he was the hothead, but he grew as a Ranger. I mean, he grew as a Ranger very quickly, and he had a whole lot of character development. You know, Lily, she was okay as the Yellow Rangers, but she was okay. Theo Hughes, Theo is like the Mister Know It All of a Ranger because he thinks he's so smart, thinks he knows what he's doing. He's all cool, calm, and collected. But when it comes to other people, I think he was just jealous because one, he had a thing for Lily. By the end of the season, the two of them ended up going on a date. So RJ is one of my favorite Rangers, but he was a mentor at the same time. He didn't over sugarcoat anything, like kind of like what they're doing in the Neo Saban era. So RJ was a mentor first, but he had the spirit of the wolf. And once he became a ranger during his battle with, you know, the wolf curse, he was able to become a ranger. And I never did like RJ suit because it looked more like a tracksuit to me than anything else. But so, and at the same time, he was a good ranger, and I like his fighting style. It's like a mix of Muay Thai and martial arts. So I think that's one of the best seasons of Power Rangers has ever done. It's based on martial arts, and that's what I love. RPM was the last Disney season that I loved RPM because it had the Terminator feel to it. Um, there were so many crazy moments, like the part when Ziggy was talking about every time when the Rangers morph, the huge college explosions background every time they do a pose, whatever. And he also talked about those googly anime eyes, and that was an anime reference. Power Rangers has never done this in the past, making reference to other things in pop culture like anime, whatever, such and such, etc. Etc. But I think that RPM was one of the good scenes as well. Jim and Gemma, I did not like them because they always talking and finish their other sentences at the same time. But the finale was crazy. It was huge, and the lady who played Dylan's sister, I didn't know that she was 17 or 16 or whatever in the show. No, actually, she was 17 when she started on Power Rangers. I'm like, I thought she was in her 20s when she started the show because when you look close into her face, you can tell that she looked kind of older, but I didn't know that she was the youngest member of the crew, and that kind of shocked me. I'm like, oh my god, I never knew. I never knew. But I think Scott is one of my favorite Red Rangers ever. I love his backstory. His brother was no, he did a mission with his brother, but his brother ended up being killed. So Scott ended up having a focus episode on him to prove it himself by saving others, so that way he won't prevent that from happening to what happened to his brother a long time ago. And I think Scott had a better backstory than the other two Rangers. And I think one of my biggest issues I had with Summer is that she was just a spoiled little rich girl, you know, not wanting anything. But once the Avengers came around and destroyed everything, she had to, you know, um, basically stop doing what she was doing and grow up and realize that you can't always have anything just because you're rich. So she ended up saving the butler, but the butler died, so she grew out of it. And I remember an episode when she saved Scott from an incident. Then the worst part about Sky's character is her parents came back and wanted her to marry a guy, and Summer didn't want anything to do with it at all. So her backstory I just didn't like at all. But she was still a good Yellow Ranger at the same time. So Dylan's backstory, yeah, he had a tragic backstory as well. Him and his sister were kidnapped by Vinchix and his goons. So that's why he was able to turn into a cyborg. No, he was a half human, half cyborg. So Dylan is like a robot of the Power Rangers team, but yeah, he could talk normally. But he was in jail, and I think the second or third episode, and the way that they shot these episodes, I feel like you're watching CSI Miami or NCIS Los Angeles. It's the way that they shot these episodes, though, and that's what I like about different direction that the Disney seasons were able to take when it comes to the camera work and stuff. And then the Niels Bond era started. It all started in late 2010, when the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers 2010 action figures were very, very terrible in my opinion. So I think that was the start of the whole 2010 Power Rangers was the worst year of it because of the toy sales. Disney was really ruining it, wanted to do their own thing as well. So once Saban brought the franchise back from Disney in 2010 to put out a Power Rangers Samurai season in 2011, which was not good, by the way. Speaking of Samurai, I hate that season because the acting was terrible. The story made no sense. It's a copy paste off the Super Sentai and the counterparts. And not only that, the finale was the exact same thing. So the only Rangers that were interesting watching was Mike and Emily. Mia, Janie, Antonio, Kevin were not that great at all. But Antonio was okay. But I think Kevin and Janie were, no, and Mia, they sucked. Only Mike and Emily were my least favorite Rangers on the show because of how good their acting was, in my opinion. So, and this is the start of the whole super season, which means 20 episodes per season. Season 1 ends with 20 episodes. Season 2 ends with 20 episodes. And that is not good. You go wait till another year to start a show of the same season with the super season over it. It's not good. And to make matters worse, the so-called 20th anniversary was Power Rangers Mega Force. The season was god awful. It was bad all around. Cause number one, the story made no sense. Troy was bland as all heck. He's a robot. Troy is a robot. Again, it's not the actor's fault. but it's the writer's fault. They could have done a better job of, handling the 20th anniversary season. You didn't have to have them talk about we are superheroes, we fight for honor, and cut the crap. Noah was one of my favorite Blue Rangers in Megaforce and Super Megaforce because he had a character arc. But the rest of them just didn't have anything going for them at all. I just didn't find anything special about them. I love the suits, but the show was god awful. I'm sorry, it just is. Megaforce was trash. Even the first episode was tying to the original Day at the Dumpster episode. It just made Day at the Dumpster look 10 times better than the Mega Mission episode. And no. Romo Knight was a good Ranger, but he was like a Terminator though. But one of the episodes that ruined it for me was he had an episode. No, Romo Knight had a focus episode when he went to a library and he was trying to read and he sees his kid listening to hip hop music. Oh my God. Why? Just why? I remember watching this episode back in 2013. I wanted to scream from the top of my lungs like, what the heck are y'all doing? Then, if you ever think about it, why? I'm not trying to sound racist and everything, but you could have made... No. That kid could have been the Black Ranger of Megaforce. The way that his attitude was. But you know what? That's just my opinion, so you guys don't have to agree with me at all, but... And then came the finale. Trash. A few things I liked about Megaforce was the Unmorphed fight scenes. They lasted longer than the Samurai Unmorphed fights. The civilian fights of Megaforce was good, but Super Megaforce was just as bad as the first season of Megaforce. Again, Noah had a good focus episode, and that was the third episode. You could have gave the other Rangers more focused episode with no development. Gia in Megaforce season, she was good, but her character was not developed at all. She did not have a focused episode whatsoever. And I feel bad for Ciara Hanna. She deserved a lot better than what the writers were doing to her character. She was inspired to be an Angelina Jolie-like, but to no prevail, in my opinion. But then the second season, she just became all girlyish, mixed with tough girl. When Orion came, she had a little crush on him, though. Man, I'm telling you right now, Super Megaforce is still the worst season of all time. The fans said so. The cast said so. Even, they basically fired Jonathan Disaster, the Sentai fanboy that over abused the heck out of the Japanese stock footage and ruined Super Megaforce season of what it is, what it's supposed to be, but it was ruined yet again. So to make matters worse, the finale was just bad. All it was just foot soldiers coming in, all different Rangers. No, I think 9 or 10 Rangers came back with no lines in it whatsoever. Oh God, the finale was even bad. It was terrible. So things kind of uplifted a little bit when Dino Charge came out in 2015. I love Dino Charge season 1 because it had a lot going for it. The civilian fights were going for it, and I do mean it was a lot of civilian fights. And that was the one thing that we all wanted the most was good action, civilian fight scenes, and great, good character development for each Ranger. So Tyler is one of my favorite Rangers on the show. Sorry. Uh, Brandon Magia did an amazing job on Tyler. I like his character. You know, and it was kind of clear that he had a thing for Shelby growing. No, not growing up. It's clear to me that he had a thing for Shelby from the beginning of the episode. Tyler is like one of my favorite Rangers on the show because even though it focused too much on him though, for one of the find his father and stuff. Um, but I think one of my favorite Rangers was Coda as well. Um, he was a caveman 3,000 years ago. No, 3,000 years ago. So making Coda the oldest of the Rangers. He was the oldest Ranger on the show, being 3,000. Well, three being 1,000 years old. So that means that Coda was a caveman at the time, and well, he's a caveman. So Fury wanted one of the Donald Gem, and ended up saving his brother from a saber-toothed tiger, which was the horrible CGI effect on it. Uh, and Coda ends up saving the kid. Is that my phone doing it? It's probably my phone anyway. Yeah. The second season of Down Supercharged was awful. Until the finale just made it worse. Time traveling, it made no sense whatsoever. So I just didn't like it at all. And then we get to the butt of the season. The booty of the season, aka Ninja Steel. This season is bad, guys. I do not like Ninja Steel at all. It was trash. The season was garbage. The Red Rangers sucked. Again, it's not the actor's fault. It's just his character and the writers are making him out to be. The way that they're telling him how to act. He sucked. I mean, I feel like they are still picking out models rather than people with good acting experience and with martial arts backgrounds. Any sports backgrounds. Like, come on, man. Like, what are y'all doing? So this is how you know Ninja Steel was going to be a terrible season. Everything about season one of Ninja Steel was bad. The characters were boring. It made no sense. The show doesn't make any sense. It was just filler after filler after filler episodes into the finale. Like, I just don't get it. And you expect us to be positive about every season? No. If we see something we don't like, we have to address it. So kind of like what I'm doing right now is addressing some issues with the Neil Saban era, with the whole 20 episode policy, which needs to stop. And even the Super Ninja Steel season, as of right now, is bad. Again, filler after filler after filler. It's terrible. This season is bad. There's no civilian fight scenes at all. They barely did anything. Even in the opening of the season one of Ninja Steel, they barely did any civilian fight scenes, and that's not good. I just don't like this season at all. Everyone hates Super Ninja Steel, period. And no, I'm not going to miss the cast because I think, I just think the show is terrible. They deserve better. Again, look, it's not their fault. It's the writers. Like, they're the ones making this season out to be terrible. I just don't understand the Neil Saban era. But then again, last Saturday they did an episode when setting up for the 25th anniversary special. Too bad it's only a 30-minute episode. And boy, do I hate that. Again, I'm gonna react to it for you guys. I love Power Rangers though, but a 30-minute episode of a 25th anniversary special, it could have been a 1 hour episode. I don't know, man, but hey, today is National Power Rangers Day, so I'm gonna try my best to be positive about everything because the franchise had its ups and downs throughout the years, but it's still going strong today. I'm still gonna do my reaction to the Super Ninja Steel special tonight at 8 o'clock. So make sure you guys tune in for that. And I will tell you my overall thoughts on it by the end of the video. And in closing of this video, here's to another 25 years of the Power Rangers franchise. Today is the day that the Power Rangers debuted on TV 25 years ago of today. So, yeah. And that, I thank you all for tuning in for this episode of Let's Talk. This is a good one. Talked about my experience with Power Rangers growing up, a lot of different seasons, and what I think of overall News of Bond era. Why I think I am gladly proud that it's finally ending. Thank God. So yeah. If you guys enjoyed this episode, subscribe, comment, follow me on Instagram as well. WShaxu. And I will see you at 8 o'clock.